that is to say up to 7 minutes. The honourable member for Mississauga Lakeshore.
Guten Morgen und Dankeschön, Mr. Speaker. It is truly a pleasure, and it gives me great pride to rise today in support of motion M73, brought by my friend and colleague, the honourable member from Kitchener South Hespeler. His motion seeks to declare the month of October German Heritage Month and to designate the 9 days commencing the Friday before Thanksgiving as Oktoberfest. And, Mr. Speaker, I commend the honourable member for serving Kitchener's German community alongside all residents of Kitchener South Hespeler with such remarkable energy, passion and commitment, and I thank him for the opportunity to speak on his motion. Canadians of German heritage have profoundly shaped our society, and the 2006 census notes that over 3 million Canadians identify themselves to be of German ancestry. Mr. Speaker, German immigrants have been part of our Canadian story for several centuries. Canada's first permanent German settlement developed in Lunenburg, Nova Scotia between 1750 and 1753. These settlers were largely farmers and tradespeople, but soon became expert fishermen, sailors, and boat builders. Later, Germans formed the largest non-British subset of Loyalists, migrating north during the American Revolution, and by 1786, making up between 10 and 20% of the refugees who were fleeing to Canada. In the early 19th century, German Mennonites migrated from Pennsylvania to the Waterloo-Kitchener area, and their successful settlement helped attract some additional 50,000 German immigrants between the 1830s and 1850s. From Confederation until the First World War, thousands of Germans emigrated to Canada, especially to the prairies and the West. Canada's rich farmland and plentiful natural resources proved to be an ideal fit for these newcomers, and they worked hard to open the West to central Canada and the Maritimes. Between the World Wars, political, social, and economic uncertainty in Europe led tens of thousands of Germans to come to Canada, and here they were able to raise their families in safety, preserve their culture and religious traditions, and contribute to Canada's growth and development as a nation. After the Second World War and through the 1960s, hundreds of thousands of Germans came to Canada to flee a divided country devastated by war. Over the years, German immigrants excelled in the trades, farming, business, and became leaders in our communities. In short, Mr. Speaker, German Canadians have helped to shape a modern Canada that cherishes the diversity and differences among its citizens. In late August 1981, my parents, my sisters, and I arrived in Canada to join those who had come from Germany before us. It was, Mr. Speaker, hands down the most profound, transformative, and inspiring moment that I, as a teenager, could have possibly imagined. It opened up new doors from day one, and it triggered events, friendships, and opportunities that have profoundly shaped and continue to shape who I am today. On my father's side, Mr. Speaker, my family has a strong connection to Berlin, Germany's capital. My father, one of my sisters, my grandfather, and I were all born in Berlin. And my great-great-grandfather, Mr. Speaker, Johann Anton Wilhelm von Karsten-Lichterfelde, built a section of the city known today as Berlin-Lichterfelde. In the course of this project, he constructed the world's first electric streetcar line in 1881, exactly 100 years before my family and I arrived in Canada. In 1963, at the height of the Cold War, Mr. Speaker, then U.S. President John F. Kennedy spoke in the still divided city, and he declared that all free men, wherever they may live, are citizens of Berlin. And I'm sure that with a gentle nudge, he would have included women as well. 50 years later, in 2013, President Obama visited Berlin and, speaking at the city's most famous landmark, the Brandenburg Gate, referred to Kennedy's words, and I quote, "Timeless, because they call upon us to care more about things than just our own self-comfort, about our own city, about our own country. They demand that we embrace the common endeavor of all of humanity." Having been born in Berlin and now working daily to defend our core values of freedom, democracy, and inclusiveness, as a member of this House, it gives me great pride, Mr. Speaker, to echo President Kennedy today and to say, "Ich bin ein Berliner." Mr. Speaker, I'm proud to join a list of 7 other German-born members of this House, 1 woman and 6 men. The first was the Honourable Hugo Kranz, elected in 1878 in the riding of Waterloo North. Today, Mr. Speaker, I'm honoured and humbled to represent my riding of Mississauga Lakeshore, and I'm proud to stand today as the only German-born Liberal member of Parliament in its history so far. And I hope, Mr. Speaker, that there will be others to follow. In the meantime, let me recognize briefly a remarkable institution located in my riding. The Friedrich Schiller Schule is a German language school that has championed language training since 1972. Named after the great German poet Schiller and founded by the late Christa Guszewski, the school teaches students from kindergarten through high school. In 1999, Christa Guszewski received the Federal Cross of Merit, or Bundesverdienstkreuz, from the German government for her dedication and commitment to German heritage, language, and culture. Today, the school is beautifully run by her daughter Christina Guszewski. Mr. Speaker, economic and cultural ties between Canada and Germany are numerous, and the partnership between our countries runs deep. It includes trade and commerce, research and development, military training exercises and exchanges through NATO, academic connections, including student exchanges, and tourism. Germany is admired for its commitment to sustained investment in science, technology, and engineering, and for its long-standing constructive relationship between capital, labor, and the state. As a result, many German products and services are globally recognized and sought on the basis of quality, design, and efficiency. German companies with strong representations here in Canada include BASF, Bayer, Carl Zeiss, Hapag-Lloyd, Miele, and Schenker, just to name a few. And Siemens, the company whose founder 100 years ago developed and produced the cars for the electric train line that my great-great-grandfather installed in Berlin-Lichterfelde, has its Canadian headquarters in Oakville, my neighbouring riding to the west. On the trade side, Mr. Speaker, Germany, as the economic powerhouse of the European Union, was one of the primary driving forces behind the new Canada-Europe trade agreement. I congratulate our incredibly hard-working Minister of International Trade, the Honourable Member for University Rosedale, and her team for having secured this milestone, which will bring about an even stronger and closer relationship between Canada and Germany. To conclude, Mr. Speaker, I would like to pay special tribute to the German community in Kitchener-Waterloo and its long-standing contribution to Canadian heritage. I had the privilege of accompanying the Prime Minister to Kitchener this fall to celebrate Oktoberfest, and I met many of the amazing volunteers and hard-working executives of the region's German clubs. Their warm welcome and hospitality truly underscore the word Gemütlichkeit. Mr. Speaker, motion M73 is a most fitting recognition of German heritage and its contribution to Canada. I'm honoured by the opportunity to speak today, and through you, Mr. Speaker, would like to congratulate the member for Kitchener-South Hespeler on this important motion. Thank you.